For centuries, the Rhine River, which stretches more than 1,230 kilometers from the North Sea to the Swiss Alps, has influenced European history. It has functioned as a crucial trade route, a natural border, and a major battlefield. It still connects Europe to international markets and is one of the busiest waterways in the world today. The history of the Rhine is one of tenacity, change, and enduring influence, spanning from ancient civilizations to contemporary cities. The Rhine is this. It established the Roman Empire's northern border. During World War II, the area saw the most intense bombardment. The largest shipping ports and some of Europe's most productive areas are located there today. The Rhine is perhaps the most valuable river in Europe, full of stunning locations and national treasures. However, its significance is somewhat overlooked, much like the significance of the majority of waterways nowadays. It is easy to forget that rivers frequently shape nations in the 21st century, when the Netherlands imports its tulips from Kenya and peace treaties are negotiated over teleconferences. One of the largest rivers in Europe, the Rhine originates in Switzerland and flows north through Germany and the Netherlands before emptying into the North Sea. At roughly 1,230 kilometers, it is the second longest river in Central and Western Europe. Before passing through Germany and the Netherlands for most of its journey, it delineates the borders between Switzerland and Liechtenstein, Austria, Germany, and France. The Rhine's birthplace is Switzerland's Lake Thoma. It is located in the center of an Oberalp Pass Nature Reserve at an elevation of 2,344 meters. However, the Rhine may not yet be indicated on your map. Before becoming the Rhine, the Vorderrhein, a small stream that emerges from Thoma, must merge with the Hinterrhein. It completed its first significant task, defining the border between Switzerland and Liechtenstein, a few hundred kilometers away. It then empties into Lake Constance, which is the meeting point of Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. The waters of the Aare join the Rhine as it flows through the Swiss state of Schaffhausen, more than doubling its overall water discharge. The Rhine then flows for a few hundred kilometers, marking the border between Switzerland and Germany, until it reaches the small town of Augst, supposedly the first Roman settlement on the Rhine. Basel, the only port city in Switzerland, is only a few short turns away. Currently, this is where about 10% of all Swiss imports come from. The majority of cargo ships reach Basel as their last stop before turning around and returning to Rotterdam. This has served as Switzerland's entryway to the outside world for a significant portion of its history. The Rhine controls the border between France and Germany for the next 200 kilometers. Strasbourg, a city with a very contradictory culture, is passed on the route. For the majority of its early history, it was a free state. However, it was taken over during the Franco-Prussian War in 1870 and remained German for about 51 years before being given back to France at the end of World War I. After World War II, Germany was forced to return it once more. Mannheim is the first major city when the Rhine enters Rhineland-Palatinate. On June 12, 1817, Baron Karl von Drais completed the first known bicycle ride there, covering 13 kilometers in less than an hour. Sometime in 1885, Karl Benz drove his motor wagon, which I believe was a somewhat less significant breakthrough for this city. We arrive in Mainz, the birthplace of Johannes Gutenberg, the man of the millennium and the creator of the printing press, about 70 kilometers upstream. The town was first a Roman settlement that protected the empire's northernmost frontier as a military outpost. With 10,000 seats, the Mogontiacum Theater was the biggest Roman theater north of the Alps. Koblenz, a city at the intersection of Europe, comes next. As the capital of the province of Germania Superior, it was once a significant Roman trading hub and has since witnessed numerous instances of intense combat and bombardment. Originally founded as Roman settlements, Bonn and Cologne, also called Bonna and Colonia Agrippina, are swiftly passed by the Rhine. Beethoven spent his early years in Bonn, which is well known as his birthplace. Because of its strategic location, Cologne was naturally leveled during the conflict. The Cologne Cathedral, which was hit 11 times during the bombing, was the only structure that survived. Its star, the spires, made it a prominent local landmark. Düsseldorf and Duisburg are a short distance downstream. Once little more than a historian's village, Düsseldorf is now one of Europe's most livable and economically active cities. Conversely, the world's largest inland port is Duisburg. Serving ocean-going ships that go to Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, it is regarded as a seaport despite being 160 kilometers from the North Sea. It was Germany's industrial hub, along with Essen, and as such, Duisburg might have been the most heavily bombed city during World War II. The Normandy landing on June 6, 1944, signaled the beginning of the Allied offensive to retake Europe. The recapture of one city after another happened rather quickly, and on March 23, 1945, Wesel on the Rhine was used as a staging ground for Operation Plunder as part of the Allied advance on Berlin. Germany drew a line in the sand, the Rhine, as it withdrew and faced the Allied attack. It was the biggest barrier still standing, and it was finally removed close to Wesel and Ries. Adolf Hitler ended his own life within months, and the war ended shortly after. After passing the small harbor town of Emmerich, the Rhine finally departs Germany and its name. There, it briefly separates the Netherlands and Germany before dividing into the Waal and Niederrhein rivers. We will arrive in Arnhem if we decide to follow the Niederrhein. Operation Market Garden was aimed at Arnhem. The first push across the Rhine by the Allies was made on September 17, 1944. At that time in World War II, the attack was the biggest airborne operation. Although the Allies succeeded in securing several of their goals, they were unable to secure the bridges that crossed the Rhine, which prevented a force from the mainland from reaching Arnhem. Similar to the Waal, the Niederrhein ends up in Rotterdam, the largest and busiest port in Europe, and at one point the world. The port, which is roughly the size of Manchester, was the 11th busiest in the world in 2018. Considering that all the other ports that surpass it are in China, Singapore, South Korea, or Dubai, that may not seem like much, but it is undoubtedly significant. If you live in Northern Europe and use goods that were brought in from far away, Rotterdam is probably where they came from. One of the world's busiest inland waterways is the Rhine. Given that the Rhine transports an estimated 310 million tons of goods annually, trade in the North Sea would be drastically diminished without it. Europe probably would have been very different without the Rhine. Simply put, the Netherlands would be a swamp. Without its wealthiest and most populated areas, Germany would not exist. Switzerland would be even more isolated because it would be landlocked. The French might have spoken German, or the Germans French, if the Rhine had not been a physical barrier. Furthermore, all of the expensive cars may be imported from Japan. You should subscribe to this channel if you enjoy geography, history, maps, and geopolitics. Rivers are therefore very significant. Not so long ago, in the absence of properly accurate cartography or maps, lands had to be divided by natural boundaries such as rivers and mountains. Because they provide obvious targets for military conquest, as well as because the Rhine provides trade, food, and transportation, 58,000 kilometers, or 23% of the world's non-coastal national borders, are large rivers. I'll end this video now, and I'd be interested to know what you think. Guess where it is, too.